So I'm getting ready to make piping for the chair, and I do not have a piping foot or a cording foot for my sewing machine, but I've read that you can use a zipper foot, which came with the sewing machine. So I am going to put that on. This is where I'm going to be using a lot of my scrap material to cut strips to make my piping. So I have a lot of long vertical pieces, like this one, and I'm going to be cutting it into long strips. I am measuring out 1.5 inch strips, which I will cut out with scissors. And I don't have a rotary cutting tool or a cutting mat, so I am just using this straight edge for quilting, and I am lightly drawing my lines on the back of my fabric with pencil. You won't see it once you flip it over and stuff. So yeah, I measured out 3 points, and then I line up the straight edge, draw a straight line, and I'm gonna cut right along there. My cording that I'm using is actually cotton clothesline, and it's roughly 1/4 inch in diameter, and I got 100 feet of this for maybe like $7 something. So it is much more cost effective than actually buying true upholstery piping or cording. So you can see on here that I have my lines drawn in pencil on the back, 1.5 inches each, and I am going to use my upholstery shears to cut them out. And again, I highly recommend these by Ginger, and I've linked them in my Amazon storefront if you're interested. They are heavy duty and really sharp all the way to the tip, and I use these for all of my sewing and upholstery projects. Also, I have made a little line at the bottom of each strip right here, just so I can keep the pattern straight when I'm sewing, and I will show you that when I'm doing it, but we're going to match up a line end to a non-line end to keep the pattern going the same direction. Okay, so I've taken 2 strips of my material, and I have put one line side face down so that the pattern is up, and here is a non-line side of another strip, and I'm putting it pattern down at a 90-degree angle to the other one. And I am going to sew straight across here from this corner to this corner, just straight across. And I'm using a regular presser foot. All right, now without lifting that up, I am going to take the end of the last piece I just did and put it pattern side up on my table. I'm going to take another strip right here, and this is a line side, by the way, so that's pattern side up. I'm going to take another strip with a non-line side and put it wrong side up. And then we're just going to go right up here without taking the other one off, same 90-degree angle, and just go straight across that V again. Okay, so I take the end of the one I just did, which is a line side, pattern side up, take another strip, non-line side. We're always doing line side to non-line side to keep the pattern running in the same direction. And we're always doing right side of fabric to wrong side. Well, right side to right side is what I'm trying to say. So I lay it wrong side up so that the right sides of the fabric are always touching. Okay, again, I've done this. I'm gonna go straight across that V. And you're just going to keep doing that. I'll show you one more time, just in case. Take the end of the strip I just did, which is a line side, put it right side up, take another strip, non-line side, lay it at a 90-degree angle so that the right sides are touching, and just sew straight across the V. And just keep doing that with all your pieces. And then once you've finished that, go ahead and lift up your presser foot, pull it out, cut your strings. Okay, then you can see these are all attached. So I'm gonna lay these out, and we're gonna cut off the excess fabric just to the right of the seam. We're gonna cut off these little things. So just a little bit to the right of the seam. Just gonna trim off the extra fabric. And as you go, you can go ahead and cut these apart. So just snip the little thread in between. Okay, there's one. Snip. This got all jumbled up because I did a lot of strips. Make sure you're cutting the proper side though, because you don't want to cut your strip apart. Snip that apart. And there we go. And now we have one super long strip of fabric for our piping. So now I'm going to go ahead and change out my presser foot to do my piping. And I do not have a piping or cording presser foot for this machine, but I do have a zipper foot. So I am going to use that. So always make sure your machine is off. Reference the directions your machine came with. For mine, it's just, you just lift this up and the little presser foot comes right off. You line this up, push the presser foot down. Gotcha. Okay, so good. So now we are going to take the end of our strip of fabric and we are going to take our clothesline, aka our piping, and we are just going to, we're going to lay this fabric right side down, and we're just going to lay our piping right in the middle, and we're going to fold the fabric over so that it meets itself edge to edge, just like you would expect it would. Okay, so just something like that. Our piping is right in here, nice and tight against the edge, and we are just gonna sew right along here. So hopefully you can see this okay. This is the zipper foot, and I have my piping on this side, the right side of the zipper foot, because the needle is gonna go down all the way right up against the piping. So the foot is actually pressing right up against the piping to keep it in there. I have my fabric folded over, edge to edge, and I am just gonna sew all along here, feeding it through and being careful to keep this nice and flush against our piping right here. If you didn't want to sew this, you probably could just easily hot glue it down as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and sew it. Okay, so I just got to the very end of my fabric strip. I'm gonna lift the foot. Don't let this fool you. I actually had to lift the foot multiple times to realign because I am not a good seamstress. But yeah, so we just lifted our foot and we are going to trim our strings here. And then I am just going to, well, here, I'm just gonna trim that off right there. And now we have all of this piping. So I did 1.5 inch strips. Excuse the pink shorts, by the way. They are very comfortable and I've had them since like college. So 1.5 inch strips was just right for this, since I'm just going to be hot gluing it into the groove. But if you wanted an extra seam allowance to like sew onto a cushion or something, you would want larger strips. The 1.5 inch strip around the 1/4 inch piping left very little excess on the side, I guess you could say, which is what I wanted because I don't want a ton of extra bulk in the groove of the chair. But you would probably want to do more like a 2-inch strip if you were gonna sew this onto a cushion or something. So I am gonna go through and cut off all of these little excess dangly things and any little chunks of fabric hanging off. And then our next step is to glue it into our groove. So I'm getting ready to glue on some of my piping to my chair. So I have my hot glue gun heating up right here. And I'm sure you've used hot glue before, but just a reminder, put something down on your work surface so as the hot glue heats up and a little bit leaks out of the tip, it doesn't mess up your table. And then it doesn't hurt to have a little bowl of cold water ready just in case you burn your fingers. You can also wear rubber gloves, just like cleaning gloves or whatever. That way you can press down on your fabric and not burn your finger. So I'm gonna let this heat up and then we're gonna get to gluing. I am going through and trimming off some of this excess along the edge just to the side of the seam because I don't need quite that much hanging off. Now if I was going to sew this into a cushion or something, I would want more seam allowance, but for my purposes I don't want all that excess fabric hanging in there because it just creates more bulk. So I'm just trimming it so it's about like that. And all I'm doing is I'm coming into this groove and just putting some beads of hot glue in here. Just a little length at a time. Then I'm bringing this in. This is very hard to do one-handed. And just putting it into place like this. I'm just pressing it in like that. And right here, I'm just gonna hold it up and snip it and then finish gluing it at the edge. Here we go. We have our piping on the back of the chair and it's amazing what a difference piping makes. It covers up a multitude of sins. So when you are starting to put a piping on a section, you want to start in an inconspicuous corner. So I would say for the tops of these arms, probably the inside corner right here would be the least conspicuous. So I'm gonna start there, I'm gonna work my way all the way around.